Hello, I'm Bailey Leasure, and it's the Leasure Sports Podcast. And this week I'm going to be talking about these recent sports news. I'm going to kick it off this week and talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks. After having a pretty good, after sweeping the Chicago White Sox, they are currently in the middle of a 11-game road trip. They played the Brewers, who are a top wild card, one of the top teams in the wild card race and playoff contender this year. It's one of the surprise teams. They were able to split the series. Overall, the Diamondbacks, they start off really well, but in those first two games, especially the second game, Robbie Ray had a great first game series, and then Chris Iannetta with a big home run to tie the game up. They were able to win game two in extra innings. Then the Diamondbacks dropped the next two to the Brewers. Yesterday they played the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were down 3-1, going down to their last out. Chris Iannetta hit a game-tying two-run home run. Archie Bradley came into the bottom of the ninth inning and faced Andrew McCutchen, and Bradley gave up a home run. Diamondbacks dropped to, I believe, 10-14, currently on the road. They'll play Pittsburgh in the fifth game of this road trip, the second game in the series against the Pirates. It will be Robbie Ray going up against Ivan Nova. So Diamondbacks, I think they're currently 2 games back. They're in third place. 2 games back Colorado. So there's still 9 games over 500. But this has been the issue for the Diamondbacks this year. Have been the road woes. And I think for the Diamondbacks, they need to figure it out, especially against a team like Pittsburgh, a team that they should beat. Milwaukee, it's a little bit more acceptable because Milwaukee's been a surprise team, and they've been decent this year. But I think the Diamondbacks, they have to. I think it's a must need for them. I mean, especially after winning 5 games in a row. Now they've lost 3 in a row, so tonight they really need a big win. There's that. I'm going to talk about the standings currently. And it's been pretty interesting. The Diamondbacks are, like I said, 2 games back at the West. Dodgers have been doing very well recently. They've won 5 in a row, or 4 in a row, something like that. They've won 5 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've been on the rise. They're a game and a half up for second place in the National League West. The only a half game back of the Rockies, who are still in first place. They'll be taking on the St. Louis Cardinals today. Milwaukee, man, they've been the surprise team. That division, man, has been very competitive. They have a game and a half lead over both the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. That division's pretty competitive. Pittsburgh, they're 3.5 games back, and they're in last place. So Nationals obviously are leading their division by 8.5 games over the Mets and the Braves. I'm going to talk about the Nationals in just a minute. Houston, still best team in Major League Baseball at 36-16, 11 games up for the Angels. I'll talk to the Angels in a minute. Minnesota is still surprising, still a game up over the Cleveland Indians at 26-21, and the New York Yankees did very well, led by Aaron Judge. Their big name rookie, up over 3 games over Boston. The current wild card spots as of today, which is May 30th, as I'm recording this, the Boston Red Sox have the first wild card spot. Baltimore and Cleveland are tied for the second wild card spot. Tampa Bay is a half game back. 2.5 games back are the Angels, White Sox, and Rangers. Detroit is 3 game, and Toronto's 3 games back. Those are within a few games. Diamondbacks and the Dodgers have the top wild card spot currently, and the Diamondbacks are in second. They have a 4.5 game lead over both the Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals. So Diamondbacks are still in the one of the top wild card teams. So, but big game coming up tonight. Hopefully Robbie Ray can repeat. He's been very well the last couple games. So hopefully he has another quality start, and the Diamondbacks can end that losing streak and get back to currently 500 on the road trip. So hopefully that happens. Moving on, a couple injuries have been going on. Danny Duffy from the Kansas City Royals, he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks with an injury. with an injury. He will be out with an injury, like I said before. Excuse me. Mike Trout, he got hurt in the Sunday game against Miami, out 6 to 8 weeks with a torn thumb ligament. That's a huge loss for the Angels. The Angels have been just 500, so I expect the Angels to go on a downslide. Mike Trout's been the leader of this team. Maybe Albert Pujols can pick it up again, as he's right now nearing 600 career home runs. Hopefully he can lead the team and the Angels can get back on track, but I'm not sure about that. And then the final piece of news, yesterday, on Memorial Day, the Nationals and the Giants faced off. Nationals won that game 3-0, but it was overshadowed by a pitch where Hunter Strickland hit Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper charged the mound, threw his helmet, made the worst helmet throw I've ever seen, and threw punches with Hunter Strickland. It was just announced right now, as I'm recording this podcast, Bryce Harper has been suspended 4 games. Hunter Strickland has been suspended 6 games. So both teams have been suspended. Bryce Harper, he's been a very loud baseball player. He's arguably the best baseball player in the game next to Trout. And unfortunately, just these brawls have been, he's been a very loud player. I think a lot of people, he's been part of that, has been very outspoken. He wants to make baseball fun again, but I'm not sure brawls are necessarily the greatest thing. But yeah, that was an ugly fight yesterday. And my sister, who's a very big baseball fan, my older sister, she cannot stand Bryce Harper, and this will help our argument out as well. So, not great, but it is what it is. It's been suspended a few games, so we'll see how the Nationals and the Giants. We'll see what happens today when they face off against each other. So that's it for my baseball news. I'm going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals kicked off last night. Very interesting game. Pittsburgh hosting the Nashville Predators. Pittsburgh trying to repeat as Stanley Cup champions, become the first team since the 97-98 Detroit Red Wings to repeat. They won Game 1 5-3. Very couple controversial moments in that game, especially the first goal was scored by PK Subban to put the Predators up 1-0. However, upon further review, they ruled that I believe Philippe Forsberg was offsides. I believe that was the player. As far as the replay, I saw it. It was a close call, and if you ask me, I thought it was too close for it to overturn. If that was me, I think it wasn't conclusive enough. I mean, it was close, but I don't think it was conclusive enough to overturn that call. So I didn't really like the call. During that, they got a 5-on-3 power play shortly after they scored a goal. They scored 3 goals in that period. That first goal there, they had a 5-on-3 power play. It looked like Sidney Crosby elbowed a guy, and that should have been, and they missed that, which led to a goal by Malkin. They were up 3-0. After that, I think the Penguins went almost 40 minutes without a shot on goal. The Predators got three goals back, tied it up with about 6 minutes left in the third period. They got a goal. Finally. Won that game 5-3. Overall, I didn't like the officiating in this game, but it is what it is. I saw a lot of people on Twitter who are definitely are cheering for the Predators. Especially if you're not a fan of the Penguins. A lot of people see the Penguins as a team that gets all the calls. I've heard people say, it's Bettman's team, Sidney Crosby. I'm not really. I mean, it's whatever. But it's been the NHL playoffs have been really good and a lot better to watch than the NBA playoffs. And I think it was a pretty exciting game, but I think some bad calls kind of prevented it from being a phenomenal game. But it was still an entertaining game. But you know what? The Predators, defensively, they didn't do a good job in that game. I think if they outshot them, I mean, the Predators should have won that game. They dominated on the shot on goal point. They scored a couple power play goals. I mean, if the Predators, they play like that tomorrow, which I believe will be game 2, and if they're able to clean up things defensively, I think they'll win game 2. And I think the Predators, I think they're going to clean things up, and I don't see this being a sweep, but the Penguins, they have one advantage that they did last year is that they're facing a team that's never been to the Stanley Cup Final for the second straight year. So they know this team's inexperienced, but I still think Predators, they got a lot of fight in them. I think they're going to be I don't count them out. I mean it's sports. You never know what's going to happen. So, but I think it's going to be a pretty good series, and we'll see how the Predators respond tomorrow night in Game 2. So that's it for the NHL news. Unrelated. I usually don't talk about golf, but Tiger Woods was arrested for a DUI. It has now been reported that he did not have any alcohol on him. He blew a 0.00 on the breathalyzer. He said it was prescriptions, and just he had weird reactions to it. I mean, you know what? At the same time, it's whatever. I mean, that could happen, but, Tiger Woods is just, man, it just seems like ever since that, he hasn't played I can't remember the last time he played golf. It's been like a few years since he played in a professional tournament. I know he's been dealing with injuries, but you know what? Hopefully he can get back on track and, start playing. He's healthy enough to start playing in tournaments again. Final news, I'm going to talk about the NBA Finals. Are coming up. That will be starting on Thursday. Game 1, for the third consecutive year, it will be Cavs Warriors. Big surprise. Warriors will have home court advantage. Cavs trying to repeat. Warriors are trying to get revenge from the 3-1 blown series lead that they gave up last year in the NBA Finals. Trying to recover from that. I think it's going to be hopefully it's going to be a good series. I don't think it's going to be a sweep from the Warriors, even though they've dominated. This is the test. I feel like they didn't get tested enough in their West on their side of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. I think its legacies could be built up here. At the same time, I hope this is a good final, because the NBA playoffs have kind of been like the NFL playoffs, where for the most part it's been pretty boring. The series haven't been really great. If for the most part the Cavs and Warriors, they've just went through all these teams. So we'll see what happens there. I think it will be a great series. I mean, LeBron James could, he's got 3 titles, and there's no question he's one of the greats, but he could really, with another ring, he could really stamp his legacy, especially with being a 3-4 and his NBA final record. If he's able to get that to 500, that could be really helpful for him. So we'll see what happens there. Kevin Durant, he's got a lot. I think he's got a lot to, if he can win the NBA, get that first ring. His move to Golden State, which has been very criticized, will hopefully get back on track. My prediction for the NBA Finals, I think it will at least go to 6 games. I think it will be 7 games, and I kind of like the Cavs again. I think they'll win, but the Warriors could win this either way too. But it's Cavs in 7, but it barely though. So that's it for my podcast this week. Thanks everybody for watching. If this past week I was once again on a podcast on the GNR Central talking about Guns N' Roses. Once again, it was kind of a last podcast I was on previously. I was able to announce it, but happened after I recorded my podcast. Expect my next movie reviews for Alien Covenant. The non-spoiler review will be coming out probably around this time. This podcast will be coming out. So keep on the lookout for that. I might be doing film reviews for Pirates of the Caribbean as well. I also might be on the GNR podcast again this weekend, I think. So check that channel out. Just passed 10,000 subscribers, and so congrats to Sid, who good guy I know on that runs that channel. He gave me a shout out on the last podcast I was on. So thank you, Sid, for giving me the shout out. In the description. Thanks everybody for watching. Follow me on Twitter at BaileyLeasure96. Like the video, comment if you agree or disagree. What do you think about the whole Bryce Harper, Hunter Strickland thing? What do you think about the Angels' chances without Mike Trout? What do you think the Diamondbacks need to improve on? What do you think is going to happen for the rest of the Stanley Cup Final? And who do you think is going to win the NBA Finals? Will it be a repeat? Will the Warriors regain their crown? We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.